What's going on, everybody? My name is Nick.
And my name is Dave.
And this is the Deep Dive, and this is our first episode of the Deep Dive in the year 2026.
Here we go, starting a new year together.
Yeah, well, Happy New Year to you guys, and we hope that your holidays were awesome and you got some time to rest and to rejuvenate. And as we go into this new year, we've finished off the Christmas season, and now we enter Epiphany.
That's correct. That's correct. Epiphany is one of those days because, by the time it rolls around, which is usually third, fourth, fifth, depending on how Sundays fall, people are kind of over with Christmas, right?
Yeah.
They're done. They're ready for the new year, and they come to church and, we say, no, not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Yep.
There's a little more to the story. And so that's where we find ourselves as we look at this podcast, looking back at this past Sunday on the day that we celebrated Epiphany, the day in the church we traditionally talk about the Magi, the wise men, the three kings, however people refer to it, about their visitation to Jesus. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, I'm excited to get into it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Well, Dave, I know not to steal any thunder from what we'll talk about, but I know as we go into this new year that there's resolutions and stuff that we sometimes will make. Did you end up making one this year?
No, not really.
Yeah, we kind of talked at the end of the last one.
Yeah,
just kind of like, we'll just get healthy.
I just want to maintain and sustain what I did in 25. But yeah, I will have to say this, looking back at 25, the last time we were talking on the podcast, you and I were in the throes of our playoff, the fantasy football league, battling it out for 5th and 6th place.
You scared me for a little bit.
Yeah. It was closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
But Nick prevailed. Number 5 in our fantasy team.
I'll take that, and I'll celebrate it. I started off so terrible. Like I think I was like 1-7 at one point, and I rattled off like a 5-game win streak to close out. So I'm proud of my super subs who came in, and
you did well. And I guess I have to say, using my beat up University of Georgia mug.
Very symbolic of the end of our year here.
Yeah, that's over as well. But that's okay. We move on and continue to watch the playoffs and see what Ole Miss does. Good on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Played a great game.
Absolutely.
They did. I don't know a lot of Ole Miss people. I've got, in my last church, there was one family that was Ole Miss, and both of their daughters that are at Ole Miss now. So, good luck to them.
Yeah, from after your team loses, you kind of gotta look at it and go, I'm kind of excited for the playoffs this year because it looks like we'll have some teams that haven't been there.
No, we do have Indiana people here.
We do have a couple Indianas.
Yeah, so we'll be pulling for them as well. So anyway, here we are at the start of a new podcast year and looking at Epiphany Sunday, and so as we did, I talked a little bit about the sort of chronology of the Magi's visit. And it's really not that big a deal to me. There are some teachers and some preachers who make a big deal out of this, and I guess by mentioning it sounds like I am, but I'm really not, because you go to a nativity play like we have here at the church, the preschool and all. Right. You always see the Magi, the wise men, thrown in with a whole bunch there to worship the baby Jesus, and I'm okay with that. But I did point out that it probably was some weeks, possibly months, maybe even up to a couple of years that the Magi arrive on the scene. But I do think, just to give some defense for, the nativity sets that you have at home or we put up here at the church, or the plays, or a musical that might also include the Magi. That's okay, because it's not chronological storytelling. Yeah. From that, I think they're telling sort of theological storytelling, and there's something beautiful in that. It says that the birth of Jesus wasn't just for the local and for the poor, the shepherds being very poor. But it was for everyone, for the whole world, including the foreigners, the educated, as the wise men would have been, and so it all kind of gets condensed down in that one scene, and so that's a beautiful thing. But for Epiphany, we do break it apart and talk about their visit, and it's a very well known story that most people know. These people living in the East somewhere who study the stars. They notice that there is something amiss. There's something afoot, I guess I should say. And so they're intellectually curious, and they come to see what it is or who it is that's been born as they had their studies. And they end up in front of Herod.
Yeah.
They come to Jerusalem, which is really close to Bethlehem, where Jesus would have been. And they meet with him. They have an audience with him, and now said, they've been studying the stars, and that a great king has been born, and they're trying to figure out where it is. And so Herod is upset, and it's interesting. And I didn't go into this, as it says all of Jerusalem, and so that's something interesting to unpack. It says that Herod was deeply disturbed by this, as was all of Jerusalem. So why was Jerusalem?
Yeah, why are they so upset?
There's a lot of thinking around it, but they had a very unpredictable king, and so maybe they were worried about how he was going to be, and just how that might upset the status quo. I don't know, but he calls in. He calls in his scholars, people who would have known, and they say, he would have been born in Bethlehem of Judah, which is close by, and so. The king, of course, as everyone knows the story, sends him on his way, Herod does, with instructions to come back and tell him so that he can also...
be my scout.
he can also worship. And so they show up, and at this time, and this is the reason why we think it was some weeks, months, possibly a couple of years later, is that there is a word that is used there in Greek that is not one that you would use for an infant. It's one that you would use for a young child. And it also says that Jesus was in a house. And so we know from the earlier text in Luke that, he was born in a stable.
Right.
Now he has moved into some temporary housing somewhere. So you come to worship Jesus in the house. They bring the gold, the frankincense, and myrrh. And there is some symbolism there that we won't go into. Maybe next year, that's where I'll go in the sermon.
Okay.
With the gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and they worship him. But then they are warned in a dream to go home by a different way. And so they leave. They don't go back to Herod. They go back home by another way. And so that's the text for the day. What can we glean from that? What can we use from that will help and instruct us along our way as Christian followers of Jesus? And so one of the things is that, and it's always a conundrum to me, is that they were led by the star. And so have you ever been like somewhere, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Maybe you're in a city, maybe you're in New York.
Right.
And you can see the Empire State Building. And so you're going to kind of go in that direction. And you don't know the route, you just kind of like it's in that
following the
direction.
points, yeah.
And like you turn a corner and you sort of lose sight of it for a second. Maybe that's not the best example, but so a star to me would be even worse than that.
Yeah, because there's so many of them.
This is a bright star for sure. And apparently, according to the text, it moves, it's kind of like, it kind of gives you a general direction, but not one specific address.
Right, like come here. Like there's not a beam that you're trying to get to or whatever.
Yeah, I do think for one of the things that we can take from Epiphany and being guided by a star, is that we have a direction for our life, but we may even know there's a destination where we're going. But the steps along the journey, God's going to guide them. They could change. We could have some little holy detours along the way. And so I think that's wisdom for us, particularly as, human beings living here in the country that we live in, where we really like control. And one of the things about, I think, resolutions are something that we choose, right?
Right.
These are my goals for the year, and by this time, by the 10th or 11th, we've usually fallen off of them. But we like to know the details, and the Christian life. Lots of times we don't know exactly how the dots are going to connect.
Yeah.
And so that's a really great space for trust and for faith and from hearing from God for direction and new directions, because things change along the way. And it will be that way in 2026. This morning, we spent a good bit of time in staff looking at the calendar and marking dates and arguing about end dates for programs and stuff like that. But we don't know what could happen. And so I think having that, being a little bit fluid, is a really great place to be.
I agree. And I sometimes battle this with the whole, that phrase. It's like, if you plan to, what is it? Now I'm blanking.
If you don't,
fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Right.
That one.
Right.
It's like, but there's sometimes it's like, I know where I want to go, but I'm not exactly sure what that journey along the way is going to look like. And how do I match both of those things with like not over planning it, but also trusting, but also having something to like kind of give me some guide rails or something like that.
Well, I think one of the key points that I actually put up on the screen was that a star is not instructions.
Yeah.
Okay. A star is a direction. Mm-hmm. And so being guided by the star, being guided by, God's light, is that for us. And so, there's wisdom there. There's wisdom there.
And I think a lot of the things I've learned over time have actually come from that type of thing. Is like, I don't know what's at the end here, but I know that this is where I'm supposed to go. You know what I mean? And trusting God along the way, not necessarily having the end thing presented in front of me, because I think sometimes if I had exactly what was going to happen, I'd probably mess it up somehow. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't get to where I needed to be. But to just kind of be told, like, I just want you to go here. Like I kind of felt that way with when I went to Virginia to do youth ministry. Is I didn't know what all that was going to hold for me. I just knew I needed a full-time job, and that way it kind of took me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But along the way there, like I didn't realize I was going to grow so much in my independence, in my own faith, because I didn't have some of the things that anchored me for a while, you know?
Yeah. And this epiphany, this word epiphany, which, means revealing, we're going to have epiphanies, all along.
Right.
There's going to be an epiphany yes, right. It's this epiphany is kind of an aha moment, right?
Like, oh, yeah, that's right.
And sometimes it's looking back and saying, that's the reason that this happened, or this is the direction that we can go. And I think the good news of epiphany is God meets us right where we are.
Yes, for sure.
Not with the blueprint necessarily, but with the direction that we should go. And sometimes it's just, one step at a time. So I like that. And so, of course, a lot of the service culminated. We had Holy Communion on Sunday. But as we came, we also received our star words for Epiphany, which is something we do. And like I point this out every year, it is not a horoscope. It's not a plan. It's a direction.
Yeah.
And so, people, I think there were 100 or so unique words. And so, chances are there were repeats for sure.
Yeah.
But not many. You got a unique word. What was your word?
Mine was dreamer.
Dreamer.
Yeah.
So,
I'll be interested to see how that one goes.
Yeah, ask people to sit with their word, even if they don't like the word.
Yeah.
Lots of times people think, I think the word was for the person behind me. And there's nothing magic about it. But just like, what do you think that could mean, dreamer?
Well, I think when I originally kind of looked at it, I was like, But as I sat with it for just a minute, I find myself that I'm overly practical sometimes.
Right.
So I think it might be a call to maybe like step a little bit out and think a little bit bigger and further.
Yeah.
Because I'm always like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And sometimes I think when you have a dream or when something's presented, like kind of what we've been talking about, not all the things are going to be presented to you at first, but you've got to make the right steps to follow that dream.
Well, you also are a strong 9 on the Enneagram.
Yes.
So a peacemaker, but you lots of times I think maybe kind of go along to get along.
Yeah.
You know, and so maybe God's calling you to like let's hear some of Nick's ideas.
Yeah.
You know,
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Do you draw one?
I did.
What'd you get?
I got a word I'm still working on. I got hospitality this year, which is a great word.
Yeah.
Which is a great word. When I first picked it up, I thought it said hostility.
Yes. Finally.
But no, I got hospitality. I'm still wondering what that is.
Yeah.
You know, how God may work that out, but that's a direction I'll sit with and look for it. I think last year I got leadership, which seemed very clear to me.
Right.
To step up with some things I needed to lead in. Hospitality, I will just have to see. I mean, it's interesting because last year here at the church, hospitality was something that we really worked on.
Yeah.
That was one of our words for the year, even though, you know, it wasn't something we drew, but something that we set as a goal. And so, you know, I'm not sure yet. I'm still looking, you know, that's the direction, and I'll know when I see it. You know that.
Now I had to tell you guys. I don't know if you even remember this, but I walked up to you on Sunday and I went, "Give me a good one, Dave." And you went, "I'm gonna give you whatever this one is."
Yeah. I mean, I try to do that, you know. And what's really hard for me is like the people. And I will say this to you who are listening: if you haven't gotten one, I'd be happy to. And what I've done, like, there's been people out of town. There've been people from my old churches that said, "Hey, we didn't do it this year. I want one." And so I'm happy to draw one for you, take a picture of it, and send it to you, which is I've done for you know for many people here. But like it's really hard then to say when I draw it, say, "Oh gosh, they're not going to like this." But I try to be pretty faithful to like whatever it is.
No, and I think that's great. And I actually kind of
they're all good words.
They're all good words.
They're all good words.
It's not a bad.
Yeah, and there's nothing magic about it. Any word that we drew, we could grow in. It's just, you know, I think it's something like, what is this personal thing? If you were asking the Spirit to guide that, what is this personal thing that I might be working on this year?
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Well, I know even my Finley, who I was sitting with, she goes, "Oh, yes, I love when we do this." You know what I mean? Like, I think these words just kind of help
people
guide.
Look forward to it. And it's funny because I know that there's some people. There was somebody from my old church who I need to send her one, but she had I did it for like 5 years in my old church. And she had them all lined up. She said, I remember she put that on our,
cool.
So she watched the service. And so I need to send her one. But I like it. It's a great practice. You know, as I say, I've been doing it maybe about 10 years now. A lot of churches are doing it now, but I like it a lot. And
it's just a good, and you said this well in services, like there's nothing magic about the word. It just might be one of those things you kind of reflect on and kind of, it might be a nudge. It might be a prompt. You know, like there's just nothing like magic. Like,
it might be something that, you know, that's comfortable. One thing that we don't include, and, you know, we get these from, there's a company who prints them. And so we cut them out, though. Teresa and I, it's one of our things that we do every year is cut them out. And so one year there were words that were not of English language. Some of them were like Greek or Hebrew. Some of them were French and Welsh or other things. And so you have to like do a little research to think.
Like,
and there are words that don't necessarily translate well into English. And so there was one slipped in that was a Welsh word, and this person came up to me and said, like, "What is this word?" I was going like, "Oh my gosh, that wasn't supposed to be in there. Take another word." I'm thinking about like including them next year. I think we've done it enough that, you know, but
with some prompts that say like, "Hey, this is."
Yeah, you're going to have to go Google that, and you're going to have to figure out, you know, what that is, and so that might help us next year. Since we've done it, that'll be the 5th year that we've done it. So, But it's a cool thing to do at the first of the year, an epiphany, and people thinking about, and I'm not saying don't have New Year's resolutions, but there's a lot more, there's a lot more, I think, sort of spirit or mystery in drawing a word than it is to like, what are going to be my goals? It's, sometimes it's like, what are you giving up for Lent? And lots of times it's like, well, I need to lose 10 pounds, so I'm, giving up bread for Lent, whatever. I think when we don't have control of it and there's a little bit of the spirit involved, it's helpful to us. Yeah.
It almost challenges us to think about it more directly. So.
Yeah. And the other thing I will say, I thought Sunday was a great Sunday.
Yeah.
We got off to a really good start, had a nice attendance, had 2 baptisms, person joined the church. So, but taking communion on the first Sunday of the year, there's something special about that to me, realizing that God, we don't know all the answers. We don't understand, we call it the mystery of faith. We don't understand everything, but God meets us there.
Yeah.
God meets us there, and, God meets us at the table and the mystery that's there as well. So
very cool. Well, I'm excited for this year and where we're going to kind of continue to go. Dave mentioned earlier that we were kind of looking at our calendars like, wow, there's some things coming up really quick. Before we know it, we're going to be in the Lenten season.
Yeah, but it's always that way, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's just like you get through Christmas, it's like, oh, here we go again. But
definitely, particularly since there's some time off between Christmas and So, but anyway, it's good to be another year. It's good to be here at Hickory Flat, and just lots of great things to look forward to this year. And one will be sitting here and doing this with you every week. So
that's right. It'll be a good time.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did get your star word and you want to share it with people, drop that in below in the chat and on the Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're taking this in at, and just kind of share with the community what it is that you have and maybe even what you think about it to initially start off with. That might be fun to hear from you guys about. But other than that, Dave, you have anything to add here at the end?
No, just God bless, and hope to see everybody on Sunday, either online or in person, and let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Let's keep it rolling. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.